Planet Earth, home to over 6 billion people, all of whom have only one question on their minds. What's for dinner?
This is the big world of food. I'm your host, Chef John Veronese. Today we're going to learn how Bluegrass Soy Sauce is made, along with many other products here by Bourbon Barrel Foods.
Micro-brewed soy sauce.
Matt Jamie is a chef, and he's created many different flavors of sauces today, and soy sauce is a really unique product. There's over 1,500 manufacturers of soy sauce, and Matt just happens to be the only microbrewed soy sauce in the whole world. Today, how are we doing over here, Matt?
Doing all right.
Excellent.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you for having us by today. How did you get started into making soy sauce, and how are you the only microbrewed soy sauce product in the whole world?
Well, it's actually the only microbrewed soy sauce in this country. There's 1,500 in Japan.
Okay.
So it's something new here, nothing new over there. This idea was just born of oysters and a lot of beer. One night with a friend of mine, I looked at him, he looked at me, and he's like, why don't you do something like this? And he grabbed a bottle of hot sauce, and I said, no, if I were going to do something, I'd microbrew soy sauce. I knew nothing about it. I taught myself everything on the internet, did a lot of research, and felt like I said the right thing at the right time.
Well,
Good.
why don't you explain to us what makes your soy sauce unique from everybody else?
Well, soy sauce is 5 ingredients. There's soybeans, wheat, salt, water, and a yeast. I could say that I have a 6th ingredient, and that would be the bourbon barrel that we use to ferment in. But what we do is we start with a non-GMO soybean. This is a non-GMO means not genetically modified. This is grown in Simpson County, Kentucky. So if you're driving south on I-65, look over to your right before you go into Tennessee. That's my field of soybeans. The same farmer also grows my wheat. It's a soft red winter wheat. This is the same wheat that Maker's Mark uses in their bourbon, soft red winter. What we do is we roast it, and then we crack it. And we do a real coarse crack on it. We have our own mill over here. What we want to do is break the kernel up into about 6 to 8 pieces. So once we get all our ingredients in place, to cook the soybeans, we'll rinse them first, okay? And then we soak them overnight, and then we cook them until they're nice and soft. So we do all our own wheat, so I guess you could say it's custom roasted. Kind of smells like popcorn or sugar smacks, what it smells like to me. This is just a tilt skillet. Again, I want to maintain the control over every ingredient that's going into the soy sauce. So I don't want to buy pre-roasted wheat. I want to roast my own.
And you're roasting it to bring in an extra flavor depth to
bring in
soy
some
sauce.
depth of flavor, yes. Also, it draws out a little bit of the moisture.
And from here now, we're going to mix this in with the soybeans and the yeast?
Yes, from here we grind it and then we mix it in with the soybeans and the yeast.
All right.
This is a 60-gallon jacketed steam kettle. And
That's
this
a
is
big
how we
kettle
do
here.
our beans. This is a Hobart. This thing is a tank. It was actually built in Louisville. They used to make these here.
Excellent. So what are we doing in this process here?
We are steaming the beans. We're trying to make them soft. So again, just like the wheat, we want to soften up the outside of the soybean so that the yeast can penetrate and do its thing.
How long does this take to cook?
They'll cook for about 4 hours. Well, from here, what we'll do is we'll cool them in these large beds. Okay? And then we add the wheat. We want to let this cool to about 90 degrees. When it hits 90, we mix the wheat in, we add the yeast, which is an Aspergillus oryzae.
Aspergillus oryzae is a filamentous fungus or mold. It is used to make Chinese and Japanese cuisine to ferment soybeans. It is also used to saturify rice, grains, and potatoes to make alcoholic beverages, such as sake.
There's 2 strains of yeast that you can use to make soy sauce. One is Aspergillus oryzae, the other is Aspergillus soyi. They do about the same thing. I buy from a company that imports it from Tokyo, and that's the only thing that was the hardest.
Yeast that
it
is for soy sauce?
It is. Well, they use it in other fermented foods, but this one is specific to soy sauce. So this is the Koji Room. I mentioned once the wheat and the soybeans and the yeast come together, the Japanese refer to that as a koji. We break it down into boxes, and we want to incubate it in here for about 2 to 2.5 days. This is where the yeast is going to do its thing. Now, the batch that we have going in here has been going since Monday, so it's about ready to go into the barrel. And it's pretty airborne, so we're going to wear masks to go in there. This is the koji. Now, this is what I think is the most critical point in making soy sauce. It's very temperature dependent. If the temperature doesn't get high enough, the yeast won't activate. If it gets too high, the yeast dies and bad bacteria can invade. It comes in a brownish, like wet bean color, and comes out looking like this, a pistachio green.
They do. They almost look like little pistachio nuts, and you see the wheat just kind of speckled through there. And it's holding a lot of heat in here.
It does.
It's pretty warm.
The yeast is working. So when I bring them in here, we start at the top. So we want to keep it warm to begin with, and then once the yeast start to work, then I have to babysit it. It's like having, for me, it's understanding a child's sleep schedule. You know, you get used to it. I know that for the first 36 hours, I'm not really going to have to come in here and check it. But after that 36th hour, it's really going to start to pick up heat. And at that point, I come in, we go top to bottom, we shake the boxes to dissipate the heat, and then the new batch will go up on top of it. But once it gets down here, at this point, I'm going to shake the box a little bit, and you can kind of see what's going to happen with the yeast. It's pretty airborne. And what happens from here, it goes into the barrel.
All right, so we're going to bring this fermented soybeans over here to the barrels. So what's our step here? What do we got going on in here right now?
So we've added most of the water, and we've added all the salt. I saved one jug for you. Now this water comes from, I mentioned it comes from Bardstown. It's actually the old Samuel's Springs that this water company bought.
Maybe.
You can smell the bourbon. This was a fresh barrel.
And you see the char on the inside from what they've done to make the bourbon there. And just dump these soybeans in here. You can see that yeast taking off a little bit.
Just give the back of it a smack. There we go. Now we're just going to stir to incorporate it. You know, usually we'll dump all of them at once, but you'll kind of get a sense of what it looks like when it goes in there.
Oh, there it is. Different uses for drills here.
So once the koji goes in here, it becomes what the Japanese would refer to as a morami. Now that I know is the Japanese word for mash.
Okay.
I just call it a mash.
And how long do we need to mix this up for?
That's good. You can see the bubbles in there. That's the yeast.
And we can take our mask off because the
take our
yeast
masks
is not in
off
the air
now.
anymore.
Now what I have here, I have 3 other barrels, and they're in different stages. So you see what it looks like when it first goes in?
Uh-huh.
Okay? This one, we just put in a week and a half ago. And the yeast is still active. You can see the CO2 trying to escape, the bubbles popping up. You can smell that yeast. Now these are just a few weeks older than that one, but you can see that the yeast has stopped doing its thing.
You definitely smell bourbon in there. That's pretty amazing.
Active yeast done doing its thing here. On this other pallet, we have soy sauce that's ready for the press.
Excellent.
Just from here, I'm sorry, but from here, when the yeast is done, the head of the barrel will go back on. We'll drill a small hole in the top so that we can access it to to mix it up every now and then, make sure there's a conducive environment for good growth inside the barrel, and then we wrap it up and we put it out on the aging floor.
And you said these age for roughly 10 to 12 months?
About a year, yeah, between 10 and 12 months. Now each barrel likes to behave a little bit differently, so it's
kind of like when you're making bourbon too.
When we come back, John gets to learn more about the art of microbrewing soy sauce, as well as to check out some of the many products Bourbon Barrel Foods has to offer.
Take your taste buds on a tour of Kentucky.
It's a lot of fun.
Watch Secrets of Bluegrass Chefs with host Tim Laird, Saturday nights at 10:30 on WBKI.
Tune in to The Barbara Bryant Show, weekday mornings at 6:30 on WBKI, CW7.
Here we are today at Sullivan University with Julian Hemmer, baking and pastry student.
Hi.
How are you doing this
Great,
afternoon?
how are you?
So where are you from, Julian?
I'm from Holland, Indiana.
All right. So what made you choose Sullivan University?
I tried a traditional college and it just wasn't for me. I surfed the internet a lot and found Sullivan, and it's very close. It's just about an hour and a half from my parents' house, so I can make trips home whenever I like, and I love Sullivan, so.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
what got you in the baking and pastries?
I actually had a summer job at a bakery, and it was the best job I've ever had. I loved going to work. I loved doing what I was doing, and when I didn't like traditional college and taking business classes, I decided to go for baking.
What do you enjoy the most about Sullivan?
Oh, I love all the people. I know all of my chefs as a very closely. I could probably consider them my friends. If I ever have a problem, they're right there. I can just go and ask them, and they'll tell me straight up. Yes, this works. No, this doesn't work. They're honest, and that's what I love.
That's very important, building that relationship, and it
Absolutely.
makes it easier for you to learn and help continue in your program. What do you think that you're going to learn the most from Sullivan that's going to help you in your career?
Every little skill that we possibly need. We can go through bread, cakes, decorating, just everything you need to know about baking. We're learning, and we're starting with little skills, and we just build and build and build.
What's the most interesting thing that you've done in your program so far?
Actually, we've been working on plated desserts the last couple of weeks, and I've actually just finished a baked Alaska. And it is a chiffon cake with ice cream in the middle with a meringue top. And it is the most delicious dessert I've ever had.
Didn't think you could bake ice cream before,
No,
did you?
I didn't. I was like, we're putting this in the oven, but it's very tasty.
Excellent. So where are you in your pastry program?
I'm finishing my baking 1 quarter, and then in a couple of weeks I'll go on to baking 2.
All right. Always exciting to learn something different,
It is.
isn't it?
It is.
What are you going to do when you graduate from Sullivan?
I hope to go on a cruise ship, stay on that for maybe a year or 2, and then try to settle down a little.
Somebody wants to travel the world.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you're done with that? What's the big picture here? Why?
One day I'd like to own my own sweet shop,
All right.
Yeah.
Making your own confections. And,
making my own desserts, everything.
well, it's a lot of hard work, I know
Yeah, I
myself.
know.
So. Well, excellent, and good luck in your future, Jillian.
Thank you.
Well, that was Jillian Hemmer, Sullivan University, and future pastry chef.
Interested in a career in hospitality? Give us a call at 502-456-6505 or check us out at sullivan.edu.
With 30 years experience in the industry, I've seen the evolution of the point of sale system, from the early days of the handwritten checks to now the amazing Aloha system. Here at Veronese, we chose Aloha first of all for its exceptional service, but also its ease of use. We can split checks, even individual items. I can check sales reports, product mix reports. I can literally run the entire restaurant from this one computer. This is why Aloha is our system of choice.
How to Buy brought to you by Creation Gardens, reminding you that dining out makes you happy, so let's start smiling again.
When buying root vegetables for your favorite recipe or just want a unique garnish, you want the finest ingredients. And we're here with Chef Cray from Creation Gardens to give us some tips on how to buy these produce.
Well, here we have a baby bunch carrot. We have a few colors here, yellow and red. With these, you're looking for a nice, smooth, shiny carrot. With these, you want a nice, firm root, nice crunch to it. And also, the tops can be a good sign of quality. If you have a nice green, fresh top, that's a good sign. This is what's known as a black night carrot. These are really different and kind of unique, as you can see the multicolored inside to them. You can just peel those and cook them like any other carrot. Those are really nice. And here we have just a variety of root vegetables and baby root vegetables. These are all baby bunch beets, candy striped and red. This is a baby bunch turnip, also known as a Tokyo turnip. Here we have a variety of beets and radishes. There's a candy striped beet, a gold beet. You can see the interior right here. And this is what's called a watermelon radish. This is great for garnish on a salad or as a side dish with dips. And with all of these, again, you're looking for a nice firm root. You don't want any give or sponge to them at all. Nice firm texture. With all these baby bunch vegetables, everyone loves to see the green tops on these. You can even use these in a recipe. They're great to cook it by themselves. But if you're going to hang on to these for a while, once you get them home, you might want to cut those off. They'll actually last a little longer without the tops on it. The tops continue to feed on the root, so you might want to cut those off if you're going to hang on to them.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Craig, for giving us some wonderful tips of how to buy these root vegetables.
Veronese, eclectic contemporary Mediterranean cuisine, extensive wine list, Four Seasons patio, exciting atmosphere, fresh Kentucky proud local ingredients, vegetarian friendly, live jazz 7 nights a week. For more information, call 502-899-9904. Veronese, 2106 Historic Frankfort Avenue.
Micro-brewed soy sauce.
So this barrel's ready. You know, we set this in just towards the end of '08. So it's a little over a year. But we brought it in here for the press. We're ready to start on this one.
Much darker.
Much darker. And you can also see how the level has dropped. This particular barrel, I think we had some seepage on, but also because of the length that it's been in the barrel, we did get more evaporation than I'm accustomed to seeing. You know, usually it's about right here. So we may have lost a few gallons. And that's okay with me.
Does that make it a more concentrated product?
It does, you know, the flavor profile is going to be a bit bolder, a bit more full-bodied. We try and be as consistent as we possibly can, and that is my main concern right now.
That's the job of the master distiller.
Not only keeping up with demand, but making sure that each bottle is the same.
Quality control.
Quality control. Now, if I stirred this up a little bit, what we would find is that a lot of the soy sauce is sitting towards the bottom.
So all the sediments floating on the top.
It floats,
mostly?
Yes, it does, and you can see, you know, the difference in color, the difference in the texture.
And this stuff looks a lot better than it does over there. Can you actually taste this?
You can taste this now, and that's okay because what we're going to do is press it. We filter it 3 times.
That's some great flavor.
And we pasteurize it. Yeah. No, thanks. It's so from here, you know, we'll pop the head off. This barrel here has been emptied, and it goes into the press. Now, this is a rack and cloth press that we built. You know, part of the struggle with being the only microbrewer of soy sauce in this country is that I had to identify equipment that I needed. You know, a lot of it isn't available to me, so I borrowed specific things from different industries. You know, the cider industry. So what we'll do is we'll take the mash out of the barrel. This tub is lined with muslin. It's just a cloth that we're going to use to hold the mash in place as we press it. You can kind of see what the consistency is of this.
It's like mash.
It's mash.
So this is kind of like a cheesecloth?
Yeah, it is. And this is, you know, part of the process I borrowed from the cheese-making industry, I guess you could say. And we fold it over nice and tight because we don't want any of the solids to escape from this. And then we have press boards. And what we'll do is just line these right on top of it.
And this is going to help extract all the soy sauce out of it.
This is going to push the soy sauce through the muslin. And this tub is plumbed. So we have a catch basin down here that's lined with another sheet of muslin, and it's hosed into the bottom here.
Okay, so we're filtering it kind of a couple times.
Absolutely. We filter it twice, and then we pasteurize it. So we're catching here, And then this is what it looks like before we pasteurize it.
So what's the process of pasteurization?
We heat to about 180 degrees and hold it there. And then we let it cool, and then we pump it out of the kettle. Very simple. We're not pasteurizing in the bottle. It's just pasteurization in the kettle, and then we go straight to bottling.
And do you do all your bottling here?
Do all our bottling here. Everything's by hand. Takes us a little while, but I don't trust this to be outsourced right now.
Want to control your baby.
Hand labored. Each bottle is hand lettered by my dad, just like small batch bourbon.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
No, it's fun, and it's that little something extra on the bottle. It's our homage to small batch bourbon, as being the only small batch soy sauce brewery in the country. It sets us apart, and it's fun, and people appreciate that part of it.
Well, this has been great, and it's been really fascinating. I appreciate you showing us through this process, but I really like to check out the finished product now.
Absolutely. Let's get a bottle.
All right.
So here's the finished product. This is the Bluegrass Soy Sauce.
Well, I like the label. It's definitely a little more unique and different from different soy sauces. And see here that we have our bottle number and our batch number, just like the bourbon.
And my English degree came in handy with that short little story on the side. And you can take this one with you. We'd love
thank
for you to
I
have
appreciate that.
And
we'll make some great recipes with this.
And I want you to try this one. I always hope people experience this the same way they would wine.
It is great. It's very well balanced. It doesn't have too much salinity to it, and there's a lot of flavor depth in it. It's
good.
It's excellent.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So why don't you share with us a couple other products that you make here at the Bourbon Barrel Foods?
Well, we do a vegetarian Worcestershire. It's bourbon barrel aged, sweetened with Kentucky grown sorghum. We also do a sauce called Kentucky Yaki. It's just Kentucky style teriyaki sauce. Again, sweetened with sorghum, flavored with bourbon. We do a bourbon barrel aged vanilla extract. It's a bourbon Madagascar variety vanilla. We pump it into a bourbon barrel for an amount of time, filter it, bottle it, easy. Bourbon vanilla sugar, old chef's trick. Raw sugar packed with a bourbon Madagascar vanilla bean. Little play on words there, but we split the bean, expose the vanillin, those coat the sugar crystals. That's how you get the flavor. My spices are all smoked with bourbon barrel staves. We do everything from bourbon smoked sea salt, bourbon smoked paprika, and bourbon smoked cracked peppercorns. One of my other signature items is sorghum. Kentucky, this is Kentucky's maple syrup. We've always been the leading producer. This was the sweetener of the South. This one is blueberry flavored.
Sounds delicious.
It's excellent. Historically and traditionally, it was poured over biscuits, hot cereals, other breakfast breads. We're trying to introduce it as more of a gourmet condiment. I garnish a lot of cheese trays with it. My favorite is to take that goat cheese that we all know of, crust it with my bourbon smoked peppercorns. Good textural contrast there, and then good spicy sweet contrast with the sorghum and the spiciness from the pepper. Any one of them go well with it.
I'm definitely starting to feel a great inspiration of creating some new recipes with all these unique and different products. And
it's a great time of year too, with the attention that Louisville's getting on the products. People want to take a piece of Kentucky home with them. Well, now they've got a multiple to choose from that are all very, very unique, and I'm proud of them.
Well, you should be. And I appreciate you having us by today to share with us all your great product, and I wish you the best of luck in your future here in Bourbon Barrel Foods, and thanks for having us by today, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to open my own restaurant that serves locally grown food prepared with a creative flair. And thanks to Commonwealth Bank and Trust, my restaurant is now a reality. Commonwealth Bank provided me with all the banking options I needed. They make decisions locally, provide superior service, and best of all, they treat me like family. So whatever your banking needs may be, check out Commonwealth Bank, and rest assured, you'll be in the hands of people who treat you like family.
Cool Tools is brought to you by the Dine Company.
Welcome to another Cool Tools segment brought to you by the Dine Company.
Today we're going to make a little fruit parfait, and we're going to serve it in here in our crystal Stolza wine glass to make it a little more of an elegant presentation. And we're going to chop some fruit here with our Dexter Velo Sure Grip knife, and it's very comfortable to use. I'm going to take a little bit of pastry cream and put it in the bottom of our Stolza wine glass. And if you don't have pastry cream, you could also use vanilla pudding or custard at the store. And we're going to add in our strawberries and bananas here. And top it off with a little bit more of the pastry cream. And then we have our brown Halco nitrogen whipper. This thing's really neat. I've just added a little bit of heavy cream and some sugar, a little nitrogen to push out the cream. And we're just going to dispense that on top. And with our little Queasy Pro grater, we're going to grate some fresh chocolate on there. And there we have it, a strawberry and banana parfait. That's just some more of the cool tools here found at the Dine Company.
For all of your culinary needs, come to the Dine Company at 3110 Preston Highway or check us out at dinecompany.com.
We know what it's like to be part of a great team.
And the Kentucky Department of Agriculture has put one together with Kentucky's growers and food producers.
Look for the Kentucky Proud symbol at your grocery store.
The products are grown and made right here in Kentucky, so it just makes sense they're fresher and taste better.
So be a part of our team. Buy Kentucky Proud.
Nothing else is close.
Doing things differently leads to something exceptional in an absolute world.
Welcome to another exceptional experience brought to you by Absolut. Let's see what exceptional cocktail my award-winning bartender Rory is going to shake up for us today.
The cocktail we're making today is the berry acai tea. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with about 6 to 7 blueberries. Going to move on to about 10 to 12 pomegranate seeds. Going to add in a little lemon juice, about a half an ounce on that. About a half an ounce of simple syrup. I'm going to muddle this all together. It's going to release all the flavors, all that blueberry, all the pomegranate. It's going to get everything nice and mixed together. Going to move on to Absolut's newest flavor, the berry acai. It's been infused with blueberry, pomegranate, and acai. I'm going to finish that off with a little bit of chamomile and citrus tea. Going to add in our ice. Transfer that to our shaker. Give this a nice shake. Put that back in our glass. Finish this with some blueberries. This is a really, really refreshing cocktail. Now that is an exceptional cocktail.
Recipe of the Week brought to you by Kentucky Proud.
I had a great time with Matt and Jamie today, the maker of the only micro-brewed soy sauce in the United States. And it's in my own backyard. This soy sauce is wonderful and should be used on your favorite sushi or just some fresh fish. But today I had to make my famous teriyaki glaze. It's made with sun-dried cherries, a little bit of sugar, and of course, his Bluegrass Soy Sauce. I've served this over my flat iron steak, which I enjoy using because it's inexpensive, flavorful, and very tender. Served over atop a little bit of white rice, it makes a beautiful dish. And for this recipe and many more like them, visit BigWorldOfFood.com. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to tune into the Big World of Food Sundays, CW Louisville at 5:30. Until then, I'm your host, Chef John Veronese. And in the meantime, visit me at my restaurant, Veronese, 2106 Frankfort Avenue.